Yes, absolutely.
Dear friends, we are starting our interview with Patricia. Patricia, I hope I will pronounce your second name correctly because it's a little bit intriguing for Russian Szarvas.
Absolutely. That's my maiden name, Olga. Szarvas is my maiden name, and my married name is Falco Beccalli. So on my LinkedIn account, you have Patricia Falco Beccalli, and then you have Szarvas.
Such a beautiful two names. You can, on Monday, you use one name, on Tuesday another, and then it goes one by one. Absolutely. Depends on the mood. And Patricia was born in Vienna, Austria, and she's media coach, executive media coach, writer, 14 years anchor at CNBC TV London, investor, bank investor. So there is a lot of everything, and she's speaking 5 languages. My dear Patricia, the first question to you. When you speak 5 languages, which is not very usual for Russia, which is not very usual for Arabic world, and I think it's not very usual for anywhere, what it gives you, how you're looking at the world with this knowledge?
What I think was the key here is having been raised more than with one language. I think already, from your neurological setup, it just generates you a different brain. So I was raised bilingual at the beginning, stroke trilingual. So it was German, it was Slovak, and Hungarian, because my background is I'm an immigrant kid, 3/4 Hungarian and 1/4 Slovak, or what used to be Czechoslovakia once upon a time. So having been raised with more than one language gives you the following. Already your tongue is different, so you do not adopt too many accents or one strong accent in every language. And the other one is learning and picking up the next language is easier because neurologically you're supported, but also it's kind of like, oh, okay, it's just another language and there are similarities. So I think what it unlocks, apart from the easiness to learn another language, is the elasticity to see that with another language comes another understanding, may come another culture and a totally different context. And you can only enter that context or the details of that context through the key of the language.
What do you think among these countries you named, Slovak, Hungary, Jó napot kívánok?
Jó napot kívánok.
The longest hello. We have Vienna, Austria, German, Italian. Yeah. How you combine yourself? Let's say you tell me, Olga, I have 80% of Italian, 3% of Hungarian. How you measure yourself, or what is what in you from where?
Yeah, right. Absolutely. A total mix. And I would say I label myself a true European. Okay. And this is also how I raise or try to raise my daughter, a true European, meaning that you do become not only very open to different cultures, but you become eclectic. So you allow and you can also see with a certain distance the good and the bad in every culture. So having been, exposed to Hungary, to Slovakia, the Czech Republic, Austria, the German culture. So I was basically in Germany, was raised in Germany until my A-levels, and then went to the UK to study there at university and spent most of my working life there at the beginning. And then having a child from an Italian, being married to an Italian, of course, it's like a huge melange. Yeah, it's fun. And this is why I think for me, it is really a United States of Europe, and I'm living it. I'm really try to live it, even though there are certain challenges on certain levels with the United States of Europe, if you may say it that way. But I think I'm so privileged because of this. Because one thing for sure, the positive is you're everything but provincial. You're open-minded, you are communicative, you want to know, you're curious, you facilitate. On the other hand, your question is, so how do you define yourself? Which translates in my mind, Olga, so where are your roots? There I would have to say 2 things. My blood is Hungarian, but wherever you put me, I set my roots for the time. And it is kind of like with all that eclectic melange within me, this is where I am and this is where I bring myself, but I can focus on there. But I would not say, okay, I'm Switzerland now, a Swiss resident, and I'm hunker for to go back to Budapest or to Vienna or to Frankfurt or London. I wouldn't do that. But I'm here now, and it's good.
Patricia, there are two things that are completely different. Let's say Italian, they're open, they like to sing, they like to dress up, but German, they like to work hard, to stay up, to go to bed early. These two things, how they can be in you? Like,
Yes.
it cannot be together. Don't even tell me that you're mixing it, because it's completely different.
It
It's like
is.
black and white.
Absolutely. And I love that question, Olga, because it is totally different. And I tell you one thing, what I love about both cultures, okay? The Germans, and a little bit like the Swiss Germans as well, or the Germanic Swiss as well. Super precise. A yes is a yes, a no is a no. You actually get that answer. It's not like in Italian, e vediamo, let's see. I ask you something and they go like, yeah, let's see about this. No, no, no. I mean, yes or no. It's fine either way. Just tell me what I can expect. So from that point of view, there are certain dynamics in the Anglo-Saxon world, but definitely in the Germanic world, that you can A, ask for a yes or no, and B, pretty much rely on whatever the answer is. Now,
Which is
what
quite comfortable, because you know what is the person meaning. You know if he loves you or he hates you. Does he want to make business with you or no? Will he give you this $1 million or he doesn't like the project? At least you know.
Precisely. Okay, absolutely. And in Italy, of course, there is this creative chaos, okay, which you have to kind of navigate. And I used to work in Italy. I used to work for Rai 3, and I was doing the economic part of a business TV show, a weekly one, and that was tough. I mean, me going like, okay, this is how we need to do it. Super structured. Yes, yes, no, no, da da da. Oh my God. I said, this is so unprofessional. For me, it was unprofessional. Okay. So whatever is last minute and improvised. But then on the other hand, that's exactly the beauty. This is what you need to be able to do. So again, having an eclectic mindset, I go, okay, you need to have structure. You have to have the yes or no up to a certain point. You need to be able to have that, as you were saying, safety of a plan, safety of a structure, which you may find more in let's say, just to name it, the German way of working. But you also have to have, okay, everything falls to pieces. Let's be creative and just save the day and do it differently, even though it was totally unplanned. There, the German culture may have a lot more difficulties than the Italian, okay? So whereas the Italian, they pull out the bunnies out of the head, and guess what? It still is marvelous. It still works. It's just really unnerving if it's not your culture. You go like, oh my God, am I going to really do this? Is this going to be a success? Because yes, I tried, I prepared for A kind of failed, and B, we didn't plan for, but we just did it anyway. And hey, guess what? It worked out. So completely different style. Now, for the first time I had like my first deep dive into the Italian culture, I was about 25, 26. And boy, the first time I actually felt feminine, like truly feminine, and it was okay. Yeah, because I saw the normal Italian women and they were wearing skirts and they were wearing feminine stuff and they were wearing it femininely so. It was okay. Whereas in Germany, I always found that women tried to kind of cover themselves or be kind of, I don't know, they were more butch, more manly.
Are they trying not to show that they're female at all? It's in a way style of Angela Merkel, in a good way, in a respectful way.
Yeah.
But just to show that I'm a human being, that's it. Don't look at me as a woman.
Yeah, exactly. It's difficult to generalize. Personally speaking, I always felt, or most of the time I felt, that either the normality was not to really flaunt what you got. And if you did, it was done more in a very vulgar way. So the cleavage was just that little bit too low. The skirt was just that little bit too short. The high heels were just a little bit too on plateaus where you go like, Okay, so where are we going right now with this? So this kind of chic, which you have in a Parisienne,
Oui.
what you have absolutely in Milan, in Rome, and in Italy, but especially it was more about the energy, Olga. I think this energy of I'm a woman, I'm a beautiful woman, and hey, deal with it. Not in an offensive way, not in a
That is a
vulgar way.
beautiful thing. To know your power, to know who you are. Tell me, please, you were many years connected with money because you were a broker, you were a bank investor, you were a banker. What is relationship between women and money? As a person producer of big events for women in Dubai, women SME conferences where we
Yes.
have 300, 400 people, I noticed that still the money are with men. Big money belongs to men. They don't belong to women. Women are working hard. They do a lot of drama. They go to work. They come back. They do negotiation. But money are with men.
Mm.
I want to know your opinion. Number one, why? And
Mm.
you agree with me or no? And what is the relationship, in your opinion, women with money? Should they have money? They be financially independent?
Mm.
Should they know how to earn money? Or what is that?
Yeah, yeah, so many questions and all so timely and really, really important questions. So again, from my point of view, my story absolutely, and I'm still at the deep end with money because my main job, of course, is as an investor, founding partner of Falco Global Partners. We are private equity operational investors. And me for the last 7 years, separately with my company, I've been a business angel. So money, investing money, and trying to make money out of the money invested is still my prime job. Let's put it this way. At the beginning of my career after university, I started in the finance business, Lehman Brothers, Robert Fleming's, and then Citigroup as a private portfolio manager. So yes, I was always with money because I love money, I love business, and I love what money can facilitate and do. So for me, having also grown up poor, as a child of immigrants, that was every month kind of red alert environment. Oh my God, can we make it? Can we pay the rent? Can we this and that? I was lucky enough to have this type of financial education of not having any finance and making sure somehow you have to do something in order to accumulate finance and then have that finance work for you and then potentially work for others. So that was my mindset. Money was never a taboo in my household. It wasn't proactive financial education, what I do now with my daughter, but it was kind of a passive, oh my God, what are we going to do? How are we going to come by? Where does the money come from to be able to go ahead? So I think this openness and transparency that my parents always showed, having more than one job as well to just keep us afloat, teaches you something about money. A, it's super important to survive. And B, they say money doesn't make you happy, but not having money can make you very unhappy. Can make you very unhappy as a couple. It can make you very unhappy as an individual, and can destabilize, especially in our very materialistic world, Western world, what you think you are or you should be. So for me, getting into my first job, I'd save 50% of my net income because I had to start building my own wealth. And how do you do it? Well, with the money you earn. So despite earning money, I was making money, but I was accumulating money to invest to then one day make money, which is two different aspects. So me as a woman, I always thought money is needed, be good, and see it's a tool to greater things. And once you have greater things, you can then also start sharing with it. That was my approach. It's been my approach all the way through. What I've seen around me is the following. Women in business, why I also got out of banking was that I thought that women in business, yes, they're not the ones holding the big money. They are the little, with all respect, the little workers, the analysts, the smart ones, the ones that drill deep down into the details, facilitate the information, and then it's the big kahunas making the deals and being potentially also, applauded, rewarded, etc. Since the 1990s, Olga, a lot has changed for women. But what has not necessarily changed for women is that women think men will kind of look after money and it's a man thing. So I think it's not on the men to liberate us in this department and make us think, okay, I need to look after myself. And even though my husband is running the finances, I can also run my finances. And it doesn't matter whether it's a lot, a little, or a lot, but I can be empowered. Okay. So, yes, the money is still with the big men. Will that ever change? Biology is one thing, attitude is another thing. Culture, the Middle East is very different to America, to Asia, how women are being trained by their
By
parents.
the way, in Japan, you will be surprised. All the money of the family belongs, ta-da, to women.
Wonderful. And how do
The
they
man
handle
is
it?
earning.
And how do they handle it then?
All the money are given to women. Husband is coming, he's giving, okay, my salary is $15,000 a month. Keep it, my honey. This is the money of our family. That's why Japanese woman is saying, in 3 months, my husband will quit smoking. And you will ask her, how do you know that your husband will quit smoking in 3 months? Why not in 2.5? Why not in one? And she said, I will stop giving him money for smoking.
I love this.
You know?
Yes. But
Yes.
how do these women, apart from having the money, do they in Japan have like a financial education? Is it a part of the mindset that they know one day this is going to be also their responsibility, their role within a family?
Patricia, recently I had an interview with the director of Kidzania. Kidzania is a game for kids where they can try different jobs. For example, a kid can be work in the ambulance or to be a fireman, and then at the end of the day, he receives money. And he said that 80% of Japanese people, kids, are saving money. And 99% of all kids, Russians, European, American, are wasting money. Of course, they got this $10 or $15. Of course, immediately they go and buy balloon. So it's the mentality. They're investing at the age of 5, 6, 7, 8. They're investing. Imagine.
That is exactly it. And I think that the difference between consumption and creation, financial creation is something that you have to know right from the get-go, that you can spend money, you have to spend money, but one makes your wealth grow and the other one makes your wealth go. And that is really something that, not necessarily is embedded in our educational system, unless you're in private school. I have to say my daughter, privileged in that sense, because I was always adamant if I could afford it, she would go to private school. And I was in the lucky position that I turned around my life financially. And from day one, she was always in private school. So I can even compare what we were taught about finance, which is zero, Olga. Okay, maybe today it has changed, but when I was, a kid, it was nothing. You either had math and that was it, but you didn't really have anything about how the economy works, how you run a business, build a business, cash flow, balance sheet, yada. Victoria does it like from third grade on.
How old is Victoria now?
She is 17 and a half. She will do her IB next year. She's got one more year to go. She is just in the midst of applying to universities and stuff. So
I think Victoria is very lucky to have such a young and smart mother. Patricia, my question to you, what you will recommend to people who are in a very big stress now? They lost money on the shares, they invest in BMW and they lost. They invest, I don't know, in Microsoft, they lost, Meta, they lost. And now they said, Olga, we don't want to do any investment because we lost so much, we hate it, we don't believe in that. All this is just nonsense. And they start investing in real estate, for example, or they just don't invest in anything. What is the strategy now in the turbulent world of wars, pandemic, and when nothing is stable? What is your personal recommendation?
My personal recommendation is that, and it sounds so blasé, Olga, I always think the biggest crisis turns out the biggest opportunity. All right. So it always is, a war is always trashing everything down in order to have the opportunity to build up. Nothing ever in our world has ended. It was always cycles. And funnily, in our cycles, we never really learned from the cycles. So but what we did was we can kind of emulate, going like, okay, if we don't learn, we don't really involve that much. So you can see what is potentially the next step to do. I think a crisis is always an opportunity. Of course, you have to have the cash to make the most of an opportunity. So if you ask me, where would you put your money? I mean, I was kind of lucky in timing. I cashed most of my investment, especially in the digital investments, in around about December, January of this year. So hallelujah for this. That was really good. Victorious.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, Patricia.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. And whatever religion, you go like Hashem or what have you. It really is, but it was pure luck. That was not, it was not a strategy, whatever. But Victoria's University Fund is well tucked away in cash. Now, if I had cash, or if, having cash, what do you do right now? And I think this is a really good question that you posed. I'm staying in cash. I don't think we're at the end of the route, because there are so many black swans right now that there's not even one white swan that is seeming to circle here on the lake in Zurich, honestly. So at the moment, I would still hold my horses. And at the moment, it's really not yet about capital creation, but capital preservation. Now, for us as investors, as alternative investors, not stocks, not bonds, commodities, whatever, but buying actual companies, opportunities are galore. I mean, this is fabulous because you've got good, solid companies, solid in the sense of the product, perhaps also the branding, maybe starting to get weaker on the cash flow. That reduces the value. So for us, it is a really good opportunity to pick up brilliant gems at a lower level. And as we are operational investors, which is, we always say, we approach private equity differently. We are not only cash, and then we kind of like put some lipstick on the pig and sell a lipstick with pig or pig with lipstick, but we are operational. We go in, we operationally become the partners of the company. We help them hands-on to really create value, intrinsic value, and then we sell them on. So for us, it's great, especially for our models, because a lot of the entrepreneurs, a lot of the businesses don't know how to handle a crisis and generate resilience, because most of them just got, okay, you ride the wave, you ride the economic wave, you've got your customers, a black swan hits. Resilience is not yet the backbone of most of the corporates out there. And that's our speciality. So operations is our currency when we invest, is yes, the money is a no-go, is a given.
If I know some good company in Kazakhstan or in CIS region or in the Middle East, I will let you know. They might be startups or digital companies or companies that are connected with digital. I'm very
much. We are very data driven.
To know you.
Data analytics. We have AI companies. So cool. And we do have, for us, the Middle East is extremely interesting. We have a partner in India. Of course, we're in the States. We talked about Japan. My husband's just been in Japan for the last 2 weeks. We're building our Asian Pacific Falco Global Partners out of Japan, not Hong Kong anymore, not Singapore, and China is a bit of a question mark. So, no. So if you have opportunities, I mean, apart from this fantastic conversation, let's do business.
She's a banker, invest banker, and she has the same job as you. Her company's name is Digital Horizon. And in a way, there are many digital companies now in Kazakhstan, in CIS countries, and in the Middle East.
Yes.
And it will be interesting if I will see somebody on the market and some of our partners. It will be interesting because we are now we are selling cars, but we are completely digital company. We are the biggest in the Kazakhstan online platform for selling cars, like My Car in USA, and I will come with some proposals for you. And my final question to you, it is about resilience now. What you will recommend to people, because you are brave, you are strong, you have in you 5 bloods, you speak 5 languages, so you're a little bit stronger than a normal person. Because even this Slovenian, Slovak blood is very strong, because we survived such difficult times that for some people, these black swans, they cannot imagine. How you will recommend them to survive these turbulent times, which people hate? They don't like something they cannot predict, and they don't know what to do if there is an earthquake, and it looks like there is earthquake for the long time. How you will recommend them to be as resilient as you are? Where are you taking the strength?
Okay, I think it's a mindset. Strength always comes from it sounds again, so comes from the inside. You don't have a choice. You see, I mean, I see that other generations, they grow up with choice. Oh, if I don't do this, I have this opportunity. Oh, and I don't think this is the right way to go about anything. You need to know proactively what you are going after. And then if things happen, what's the choice? What do you want to do? If not go through it, grow through it. And that is really, for me, is my mindset. I teach Victoria, there's always a solution. I always say, go into anything with curiosity and a can-do attitude. Olga, there's nothing more off-putting than having somebody that goes like, interesting, but the problem is, yeah, we know there's problems. Okay, we talk about those, but let's talk about the vision, and then we talk about the how we can realize this vision, and then the problems come, and then we deal with them. What is the alternative? Jumping on a bridge? Of course, you find yourself in a war. That is, how do you deal with it? I mean, you just, take up that reality and try to find the strength. And actually, I find strength in really distressing times by not speaking to myself, be strong, but by speaking to others and giving that, and that gives me so much energy. I don't know, maybe it's because you and I, we are women, we are kind of more nurturing, and giving to somebody gets our, oxytocin going, gets our, estrogen really into things. Maybe it's not the way men would approach, but the man would go like, okay, I'm going to protect you. And his testosterone goes up and he feels, I think, looking, in order to be strong inside, sometimes you have to give to the outside, even if you feel like I can't do it anymore. But you would be surprised how much in a crisis to just take charge and be there for the others, even though you do not know whether this is the right thing you do or not, can actually charge your batteries. It sounds counter intuitive, but that's it is my experience, and there is nothing that is impossible. Sorry, we have to deal with just surviving, or the alternative is unspeakable of. So it sounds dramatic.
I'm very surprised how in a very small person like you, who is very thin, I don't know, maybe you are 49 kilograms, because you are very, very, you're not, if you will be very strong like Schwarzenegger type, then I will understand. But you are very, very tiny, and I'm interested how much fire there is in you, and energy, and also belief.
Yeah, totally.
Believe in
No.
future that...
I walk my talk, I talk my walk, absolutely. So that is definitely something super Germanic in me. If I commit, that's it. I pull it through because it's what I owe to myself. So in a way, it's very altruistic. So if you ask me something and I commit, I say, yes, I'll do this. There's no way I won't do it, or I'll give my best to it. So it is really, it's just, what's the alternative? You just say yes, and then you don't. How do you feel about yourself? I mean, for me, I have a certain image of myself, how I like myself most. And it's not a dream, it's just something that I then do. So if I want to be healthy or beautiful or looking young, I don't go trash out, have late nights, alcohol and what have you all night, and then go in 5 years' time, okay, I just go to the plastic surgeon. No, it's like, okay, but time is up. I hope I have enough money, and now I go and get the facelift. No. It is a certain lifestyle. It's a certain mindset lifestyle. And then, of course, one trips up. Nobody's perfect. But that's also something that's like a personal crisis. And you have to find your own tools, how to deal with it, and, allow for this too. So the vulnerability you allow other people, you need to allow to yourself as well. And again, it can charge.
Of course, because you teach so many things to Victoria and you love her so much. One day she will come to you. One day she will support you. One day you can be vulnerable in front of her and in front of people whom you helped. And this is luxury.
I know. I think we are out of time, but let me just pick you up on this one. And I think it's super fundamental because you talked about also men and women. And I think strong women, they sometimes have trouble finding a partner, a man. Yeah, because independent women, they are so independent that they go around castrating every human being that happens to be male. Let me put it this way, which is wrong. So, I'm not a feminist. I'm super feminine. I'm strong, but I also know to let a man be a man, to let him take over, which strengthens also my femininity and me, living also the feminine side of me, because of course I'm strong. I had to be strong. I have to create resilience. I was growing up in a crisis, in a different country, culture, parents that were struggling, da da da. But still, despite having that hardness when it needs to be, it's out when it needs to be, but it doesn't need to be out all the time. So I think this is really important. And this is, I think, where also a lot of women go wrong in the world out there when they work and they're competing with men on a man level. You don't want to do that, girls. You don't want to do that. You want to be authentic to being a woman, because we are complementary. And I always say that. I always say that to Victoria. Victoria, always be the woman you are, the smartness you have. Of course, you have the edge, but we are complementary with men, and then men also react to us differently, and the compliment comes, and then it's a longer story, maybe another conversation. But this is extremely important, where I think a lot of women go wrong. I don't know what your experience is there. You're a businesswoman yourself.
I will tell you definitely yes. And also I will say that the one that you choose the name for your daughter Victoria, which is a victory, which is the winner. Be the winner. You are the winner. You can, you do, you are able, you can. And as you said, go with the approach, you can do it. Not what, why and what. This is the approach of the winner.
Yes.
Patricia, I want to thank you very much. I will be happy to be friends with you. You have in Dubai and in Kazakhstan, and we will be in touch with you, because I'm sure we can be helpful to each other. All the best to Victoria.